Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Gotham Sports Machine. I'm your host, Jack Healey. Today, I'm with your other co-host, Mark Healey, and we're ready for a big day of baseball, basketball, and maybe some football talk, but not really. And how you doing today, Mark?
I'm doing great, Jack. Really, really great. Looking forward to today's episode.
So it was a tough weekend for St. John's fans. Had to watch him go down against Duke. It was a tough game. There was back and forth and back and forth. The Johnnies looked like they had it at one point. But the officiating was tough. Seemed like every time the Duke went in the paint, they were getting the call, and then Johnnies weren't getting some calls. And they got the top player of the country, Cameron Boozer, basically having his way with anyone inside the paint. It didn't make up for the Johnnies. And it was disappointing, but Patino, he signed an extension. He's coming back next year. It was a great run, the best run they have had this century. So it's good to look for the future. And March Madness wise, Duke fans got to see, well, St. John fans got to see the Duke fans look just as upset after that big time UConn game winner when the freshman hit the shot from the parking lot. How crazy was that?
Oh, that was unbelievable. I know one person that's happy, and that's our old buddy, Coach Mahoney, Brian Mahoney, my old AP colleague, who's been on our podcast as a guest. He's a big UConn guy. Look, it was look, the tournament has always had games like this, and it's for years and years and years. I remember Florida pulling out, an upset win, at the last minute on a jumper like that. And you've seen these things happen. And as you and I were watching the St. John's game, and they had that lead. I guess it was the biggest lead was 11 points, right, in the
Yeah, they
second half,
had they
something
had
like
double
that.
digits. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, but then all of a sudden, it seemed like they got away from what was being successful. You're right. The referees weren't calling. It's like, look, if you're going to let them be physical, let them be physical on both ends. So that was a little odd because there's a lot of action when St. John's was going into the paint. A lot of action there that fouls weren't being called. And again, you don't want to blame it on the refs. Obviously, St. John's took their share of bad shots and had their share of defensive miscues. So you don't want to just blame it on the refs. But St. John's had, as I posted like right after the games, like St. John's could have won that game. They certainly could have. And to see what UConn did to Duke, I still think St. John's would have beaten UConn. They did it all season. So, it stinks that St. John's is out of it. I don't really have a lot of emotion for UConn. So, to the best team, to the best team win, that type of thing. But uh, you said it, Patino coming back is huge because there was a lot of speculation that he might not that he might move on. So certainly good news for St. John's fans. Absolutely.
Yep. Got some big Final Four games coming up. Again, no, neither of us really have a rooting interest, but I think it's going to be real. Like both games are going to be really good. That Michigan Arizona game has the potential to be like one of the historic all-time games. And all these Michigan, I've seen people saying this Michigan team is better than the Fab Five team. So
Yeah.
they
We'll
got
see.
lofty expectations,
Yeah.
and we'll see if they live up to them.
That was a
But yeah,
great team, Jack. You don't remember, obviously you weren't born, but that was a great team. I mean, I couldn't stand them. I rooted against them, but they were great. They had, they were plus they weren't freshmen. You know what I'm saying? Like that Fab Five team, they played together for 2 or 3 years. You can't compare. Sorry. You know, you just can't.
mm. Well, I guess we'll see what happens. I
Yeah,
do
no.
really like that Arizona team. That Arizona team's gone unnoticed the entire tournament. They light it up from everywhere. They can score with anybody.
Right.
So I think it's going to be a great finish to the tournament. Moving on to the baseball world. Now that baseball is back, we've had some interesting stories brewing up in the Mets and Yankee land. I'd say the biggest one so far would be the new Mets. I mean, we've had a lot of new faces come in this offseason, And it's been mixed results between some of these guys and how they've shown up. It's only been 4 games. Can't really give a definitive like, oh, they look good or not. I
Right.
think you really can't do that until even a month, even at, like a month in, a guy could look great and still have a horrible season. So you really can't like definitively give your outlook on a player for this season. I think until 2 months in at least.
No, I
But this is
agree.
like
I agree. Yeah.
the first week though gives you a little hint at like how they went about their off season, how they're going to go about this next month or two, and how healthy and like impactful they're going to be for this lineup and for this team day in and day out. So, what are your thoughts and your concerns going into this April stretch?
Well, first, I want to address something that I posted last night that you and I talked about after the fact. And it was, I posted that Marcus Semien, I really want to like Marcus Semien because he's a pro and, he hustles and, he's a solid defender and all that. But I said that right now he looks lost at the plate. And I got hammered like all night this morning. Oh my God, it's 4 games. Oh, how could you say that? You're panicking. All I said was the guy looked lost because there was a couple of at bats with runners in scoring position over the last couple of games where he struck out. Where making contact would have been helpful. I mean, I know he's driven in a run. I know that he's new to the league. I know he's new to the Mets. I'm not panicking. I'm just saying, like right now, he looks a little lost at the plate. No, I'll say exactly what I said. I think he looks lost at the plate. Now, what do you think about that?
I mean, he had a good first game. And then outside of that, he's been like what, 0 for 10, but he's only
Yeah.
struck out 3 times and he's made contact. Like it's been weird. It's like he reminds me of how Lindor looks in the beginning of seasons.
Okay.
Because the beginning of last year and the beginning of the year before, it's like he's making good swings and he's seeing the ball decently well. Like he knows what he's looking for. He's just like the ball's really not going in places. It's baseball. You sometimes
Right.
you're gonna hit it hard right at people. But
I mean,
he's not the same player
no,
that
no question.
that he was.
Right. That's
And
true.
anyone who's expecting him hitting 280 and hitting over 25 home runs, it's just not gonna happen. If you're tempering your expectations for he's probably gonna hit like 250 and maybe give you 15 to 18 home runs,
That's fine.
like that's
I'll
more
take it.
realistic to me.
I'll take it. But again, I mean, the thing is that all I said was he looked lost at the plate. Here's the thing. The problem is that people are either complete shills or they're complete trolls. And when people post or have opinions about certain players and things like that, they want to put you in that box. And I haven't even mentioned Brandon Nimmo all season. I haven't mentioned Pete Alonso. I haven't mentioned any of those guys. And to me, they're gone. Whatever. I wish them well. We love Brent. We love Nimmo. We love Pete. We want them to do well. Edwin Diaz, I hope he implodes. But and Jeff McNeil, I wish him well too. But this is the team. This is what I'm worried about. This team, and the thing about, and again, like Simeon, Bichette was struggling early. Got a couple of RBIs last night. Almost killed himself with that swing. But I think overall, I like what I see. I didn't love Dick Lovelady blowing the game, but the Nets didn't hit either. In their one loss, they didn't hit. They had a couple of opportunities to win that game. They didn't. Um, the pitching has been pretty solid, that we've seen. And tonight, Kodai Senga makes his bid to get back to where he was a couple of years ago. So I'm really excited about watching the game with you tonight, buddy, and watching Senga. Really enjoy watching him pitch, and I think he's a big key for this team.
He isn't even people forget how good he was at the beginning of last season. I mean, he was Cy Young caliber starter until Pete threw it over his head and then ruined our season. But as far as Bichette, Simeon, like you got to give these guys a little bit of time,
Sure.
and the leeway that New Yorkers give these guys is so small that
Yep.
the second they start stinking it up, they get booed. The second they start doing great, they're the greatest thing ever. And we got to realize there's a 162 game season.
Right.
These first 80 games, as great as they can look or as bad as they can look, we've seen we've seen 30 and 50 Met teams finish the year off great, and we've seen 50 and 30 Met teams finish the year off not even making the playoffs.
Yeah, no question. Absolutely. You can't look, it's a marathon. I know it's a cliche, but it is. It's a marathon, but like it's a marathon, but every game matters. You can't lose your mind, when they win. You can't lose your mind when they lose. But every game matters. One game made the difference last year. If the Mets had made the playoffs, they'd probably get smoked in the first round. But again, anything can happen. The idea is to make the playoffs. And any game that's a winnable game, you want to win those games. But I don't get, I don't get, I felt like people overreacted to what I said. But then again, people were overreacting about Bichette, the first couple of games. So to me, I was just like, I would like the Mets to win every game. They're not going to. I'm not going to lose my mind when they lose, obviously. But, I don't want games to come down to Love Lady, just like the Yankees don't want games to come
Yeah.
down to Blackburn. But again, why'd
Like,
they lose? Did they lose because of Blackburn? No, they lost because they didn't hit. You don't score runs, you
yeah,
don't win.
yeah. But then it's also like it just genuinely makes no sense to me how a manager can like try to get his team behind bringing in a guy like this when it's like
I
you want to win this game. You know you have other guys available. That's like the big thing. Apparently, like the Mets like they could have used Tobias Myers. He hadn't thrown since the first game. The Yankees could have used Tim Hill. And it's just like some of these just the manager every manager in the league has their guys that they like that they're just gonna throw in there no matter what anybody says to them.
mhm.
And as a fan, like it's funny sometimes, it's haha, but like you can't at the end of the day, like if the Mets don't find like Minter should be back and should be healthy, but if he can't get healthy, like they need another legitimate left-hander. You can't be relying on Lovelady. And even in any situation,
No, I agree.
not even just like garbage time. The guy had 8 ERA last year. It's not like he was ever been good or ever been like a viable option. And it's like as far as Blackburn goes, he wasn't even for the Yankees, he was like somewhat solid towards the end of the year, but he was horrible for the Mets. It's like you're going to these guys that have proven absolutely nothing to you over the past few years. It just makes no sense.
Well, look, it's the way baseball is now. They have about two or three guys on every team that I call it the tomato can shuffle, and I don't want to no disrespect to these guys, but like when you get picked up, you give up 4 runs, and then you get DFA'd. Nobody takes you, so you go to AAA, and then you get picked up again, and then they DFA you, and then maybe somebody will pick you up like the Tigers did with Brian Hudson. It's just every game is precious. And again, I know there's a ton of games left and it's marathon and all that stuff, but every game is precious. Every win means something. So, it's frustrating whether you're a fan, whether you're sitting there trying to, to me as an analyst, if I'm trying to analyze the thought process of bringing in a Blackburn or a Lovelady, I don't understand it because, you, if you're bringing those two guys in, you did a bad job of managing your bullpen for that day. That I look, and I don't want to look. I like Carlos Mendoza. I don't think Aaron Boone is a great manager, but I do like him. He is a good guy. I think he, does a guy makes the playoffs every year. He must be doing something right. But, at the end of the day, I miss the managers who, like you said, had their guys, went about their business. They didn't really listen to the front office or, they had some say sometimes about guys, oh, I want that guy. I want that guy. I mean, now that, it's impossible. It doesn't work. But I wish it did because at least you could, at least you could yell at the manager and say, "Why did you use that guy?" And I remember there was a guy that the Mets had signed from Japan, and I can't think of Shingo. I forget it was Shingo something, and his nickname was Mister Zero. And he was awesome in Japan. And by the time the Mets got him, he wasn't awesome anymore, and he definitely wasn't Mister Zero. But they decided at one point to put him in a big game in a big spot, and because he had a funky delivery, and after the game, after he got rocked after the game, Willie Randolph's like, "Hey, I like his funk. I wanted to get his funk in the game." And people were like, "What?" But at least you knew it was his decision. It was like, it just, to me, guys like Blackburn and guys like Lovelady, to me, those guys are front office guys. Like they get stuck on the team, and they have a plan of who's available, what day, and who's available. Uh, you know, like I don't think Mendy decided that Rayleigh and Myers or whoever weren't available the other night. I think the front office determines, or the pitching coach or whoever determines, all right, these guys, you can't have these guys tonight. They need to rest, or they need this.
Like
So
that's like high school.
I
Like,
know, I know.
oh, his arm hurts. He's got a math test tomorrow. He can't
It-
throw.
it's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy. But
And it's crazy because it's the Mets and the Yankees. It's not like we're talking about
right,
the that well, even the Athletics now have somewhat spent money, but like it's not like we're talking about like the Athletics or the Nationals and guys that,
right.
like, who have garbage can bullpens. Like, but one of my concerns, I'm sure some people have been kind of talking about it, is the fact that, like, no one really, again, no one, we don't want to talk about Alonso. Alonso's gone, whatever. But the whole thing about losing him was replacing him. And so far, we've seen three different first basemen. Two of them don't look comfortable, and one of them's already hurt. Like, Polanco's already, like, in coming into the season, we knew Polanco was going to be a little beat up, and we knew he wasn't going to be able to play first base every day. But the first week in, and he's already got an Achilles injury. That's not like that's not I'm not I'm not too happy about that.
Right.
And that, like, already in your second series you got to start Jared Young. I mean, thankfully he had a double and actually, like, was productive,
And he looked
but
pretty good at first base too.
he did. And it's like, why are we signing a guy for $20 million to, like, Polanco? He could have been a good signing. Like, if they just said we're signing Polanco and said nothing about first base, I honestly don't think I would care. But the fact that they signed him, like, this guy's playing first base for us, and we're signing him to play first base, and he'll probably, like, he might play like 50 to 60 games at first base. Like, that's not playing first base. Like, Beatty and Jared Young are probably going to dominate who actually plays first base. Maybe a little Mark Vientos. And they should have just been straight up like, we're gonna see how Beatty looks at first base, and we're gonna, like, or just been more like, we're gonna give everyone a look at first base. And, like, they kind of were like that, but they were very, like, focused on Polanco's playing first. Polanco's playing
Yeah.
first.
Yeah, they were. It
And
was
not
weird.
like
It was weird. It was how definitive they were about it. Oh, he's
and,
signed to
and
play
he
first base.
and he's played like one inning at the position, and he just doesn't he's not 6'5", this, like, giant monster of a man where it's like, oh yeah, you put him in first. Like, he's not big. He's not, like, he just doesn't look smooth over there. He
No, he.
doesn't. And Keith he kept saying, like, oh, he's got to, like, the way he's playing doesn't, like, isn't comfortable either. He's, like, playing too far up or too far back. And it's just Beatty and Jared Young look way more comfortable.
Yeah,
And then now you're just paying Polanco to DH every day, basically.
which is fine if he's healthy. That's fine. There's no issue with that. And and the days that they want to give Soto a blow and let him DH, you can stick Polanco, at first base, or you can figure it out. I mean, to me, it's I like Polanco. I think he can hit, certainly, but there's no reason for him to play first base other than some kind of, you know, reliance on their willingness to play him at first. I mean, otherwise it doesn't make any logical sense to play him there. So we'll see. We'll see how they do it. Personally,
Especially,
I would like to see Beatty play first base. I mean, I would like to see him play first base every day.
I mean,
Just for that
especially with this
reason.
whole philosophy going in of being a more defensive team, defensive run save, and you got a third baseman who's starting to come into his role and starting to look better. But the corners of your infield are shaky.
Right.
They're not solidified. Like Bichette's playing third, but he's still going to take a month or two to learn the position.
No, I agree.
And then first base is going to be a revolving door. The middle of the infield, Simeon and Lindor, that's beautiful. They're going
Yeah.
to be great in the middle
Yep.
of the infield. Outfield, basically set on Benj, Soto, and then either Beatty, Jared Young, or Tyrone Taylor, whoever's just going to
And
get
Robert
that.
and Robert and Sam.
And Robert, who's been a very pleasant surprise the way he's
Yeah,
been
absolutely.
approaching his at bats.
Yep.
And I mean, do we want to talk any more about the Yankees?
Well, they're coming off a tough loss last night at Seattle. Look, the Yankees are they got off to a good start. Certainly they'd rather be 4-0, but they're 3-1. They've got some good pitching. Matthews had a good outing last night, and he wasn't great. He wasn't great in the spring, so that just tells you can't pay attention to the spring. Um, and they have their own issues. I mean, we were killing Trent Grisham. He's been playing okay. He's made some, had some really good at bats.
Still hitting
Um,
100.
huh?
Still hitting 100.
No, I know, but he's look to
But
me,
that's the kind of player he's been. He doesn't hit
yeah,
for a high average, and he makes impact in other ways. But
yeah. So I mean, but the thing is that I look. Here's the thing: they announced earlier today, or maybe it was last night, that Volpe is starting to hit and should be ready in a couple of weeks to go on a rehab assignment. I don't see there should be any rush because I think Caballero has been fine over there at shortstop. He seems like he's a shortstop, and Volpe, to me, I mean, I love the kid. He's fun to watch. He's easy to root for, but he's not very good. And or at least look, I have not seen. He's done some good things. I know that he has talent, but if I'm thinking about I want to get through the season, I'm not rushing Volpe back if Caballero's playing. He's playing solid defense. He has a clue when he goes up there to hit. I mean, what's his role going to be when Volpe comes back? Are they going to is he going to be an extra infielder, or are they going to send him down? So that's certainly interesting. Stanton looks good. Judge looks good after that bad opening day. People losing their minds. Um,
I mean, he's got 2 hits, both of
yeah,
them homers, but he's like 2 for 14.
yeah.
And he's
I don't
Judge.
know.
He's gonna be
I'm
fine.
sure he's going to be fine.
Yeah.
You know, and they're pitching. I mean, once they get Cole and Rodon back, I obviously have a lot more confidence in Cole than I do Rodon. But their bullpen, which you and I were both questioning, has pitched pretty well. They've been pretty good. Over the first. But again, they play the Giants. Now they're playing a better team in the Mariners. I think the Giants are terrible. I mean, I know they won their first game. I don't think they're going to be very good at all. They got some interesting players or whatever, but we'll see. I mean, again, it's a long season. Toronto, is having their issues, so I don't know what's going to happen in that AL East. But again, the Yankees are off to a good start. The Mets are off to a good start. I don't think there's any real, problem scenarios right now this early in the season. But both teams are probably going to be good all year. Both teams are probably going to make the playoffs. Both teams, or at least hopefully, are going to be in the conversation all year. So that's a good thing.
Yep. Talk about being in the conversation. Basketball season's wrapping up. The Knicks look like they've pretty much solidified their spot as a top four seed. Got about 10 games left. Coming off a tough back-to-back losses against Charlotte and OKC after a great 7 game win streak. It's like that's basically been the identity of this team. It's like they go on these big win streaks and they ruin it by getting bulldozed by a team you just do not want to lose to.
Right.
And especially in the ways that they've lost. Every time both times they play the Thunder this year, it seems that SGA is just getting every single call, whether you touch him, whether you yank on his jersey a little bit, you blow on him too hard. The guy's just getting to the line every single time. The Thunder had 38 free throws to the Knicks like 17. It was just, but the first time the Knicks played the Thunder, they deserved to win that game, the Knicks. This time around, they didn't. The game was close all game, but every single time the Knicks brought it within like 5 or 3, or even tied the game. I think they had took the lead once and led by 1, and that was their only lead. The Thunder would just rip off a run of 8 to 10
Yeah.
points,
Yeah.
take the lead back, and then the Knicks would have to fight they were just fighting to come back all game just to just to never take that lead and never solidify themselves, which just kind of seems like that's been their like MO all year. They look good, they look great, and then when it's time for them to really establish themselves as one of those top teams, they fall short.
Yep.
And whether that's, I think the biggest like effect of that is the fact that they don't have a true number two. All year we've had problems with Towns not getting shots, Towns not looking good, Towns this, Towns that. The guy had 2 or 3 shots the other night. Is that his like? Is this Mike Brown? Is this the front office? Is this the system? Is this Cat? Do you think that there's a problem in the locker room? Do you think there's a problem with Mike Brown and Brunson, or Brunson and Cat? What do you think this is stemming from?
Look,
This has been all year.
I think it's a combination of all those things, Jack. I mean, I think that Cat doesn't demand the ball enough. I think that Mike Brown's system is a little too loosey-goosey. You know, they went from a lunatic with Tibbs to a guy who's like, kind of like chilling, on the
Yeah.
sidelines, a bit, and somewhere in the middle is really what they need to do. I think that do I think there's a problem in the locker room? I don't. I mean, I think that these guys. I think the problem is that if there's a failure right now on the Knicks, and I'm not going to put it on the players because the coach has to lead. Whether or not the new NBA, the players run the league, whatever, the coach still has to be the guy that puts everybody in place to succeed. And when your team looks as inconsistent, and look, they have a great record, like as you said, they're going to be the 4 seed, but everybody expected. I mean, look at Boston. Boston loses, their guy for most of the season. They don't miss a beat, and look, I don't know what's going to, to me, the regular season, as long as everybody stays healthy, they got Deuce back. The regular season to me is practice. You know what I'm saying? It's practice. I'd rather the 3 seed, I'd rather the 2 seed, but they're going to be the 4 seed. As long as they play well in the playoffs, we're not going to remember this regular season. We're just not. So, look, I think it's too easy to blame Cat. I think it's too easy to blame Mike Brown as like the reasons. But, you got to look at it as, look, you watch a hell of a lot more Knicks basketball than I do. So, you tell me, what do you think it is?
Well, again, I agree with you. It's a mix of everything, but I also think it's like they don't make enough of a effort and point. Like, yeah, it's Mike Brown's system, it's Mike Brown's system, but like they're the guys on the court. I feel like Brunson has to like make more of an effort to just feed Towns. Like, does he not realize that he's never gonna win a championship if Towns isn't that number two guy?
Right.
Like,
No, you're right. You're right. I mean, but again, is it because Brunson
well,
is it
Brunson's
because
he's gonna play the system. He's gonna listen to Mike Brown. He's not
right.
gonna.
Exactly,
But
right.
like
He's not
he's
like this.
also the superstar. He's also got to just.
Well, your buddy Mello the other night was saying he has to demand the ball. Well, wasn't he saying that, Mello? Because that's what Mello did. Demand the ball.
But it's different. Melo was the best player. So when Melo demands the ball, you give Melo the ball. It's like when Brunson demands the ball, you give Brunson the ball. But Cat, he like doesn't have that within the team where like guy where he demands the ball. Like he half the time he calls for the ball, people aren't even looking at him. They're just running their own. And
They better
it's
figure
just
that out. They better figure that out before the playoffs start.
yeah.
You know?
I mean, right now they're the 3 seed. It's looking and their Cavs are right behind them. The Cavs are right, right. I think it's only a half game. So it
Yep.
all takes a little slip up to drop to the 4. And the teams that they're going to play between 5 and 8, you're really not worried about any of them too much. The only team that kind of like scares me a little bit to play in a series would be the Charlotte or
Yeah.
Philly. It's Philly, you don't know who's playing every night,
Right.
and Charlotte's just been electric.
Well, look,
But
again, if they don't improve their perimeter defense, if they don't improve, the way that the offense is running, if they don't improve those two things, they're going to have trouble. They're going to have trouble.
all right, well, we got some Mets baseball, some Knicks basketball, some Yankees baseball if you're a Yankee fan to look forward to, and it's been another great episode on the Gotham Sports Machine. Thanks for joining me, and see you next time.
All right, buddy. I'll see you later.
I love you.
Love you too, pal.